My husband went completely no contact for 3 days, and I was terrified something had happened to him. Turns out he was on a romantic getaway with another woman who thought he was a widower. I met her by accident, and we teamed up to confront him together. The look on his face when we both showed up was priceless, but now my life is in ruins. I, 31F, still can't believe I'm writing this. 2 weeks ago, I thought I had a solid marriage. Not perfect, but good. My husband, Daniel, 35M, and I have been married for 8 years, together for 10. We have a comfortable life, nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, good jobs, a dog named Cooper. We've been talking about starting to try for kids next year. Everything seemed fine. Then Daniel disappeared for 3 days, and I discovered he'd been living a completely different life. Let me give you some background. Daniel works in pharmaceutical sales, which means he travels fairly regularly, maybe 1 or 2 overnight trips per month for conferences or client meetings. I work as a graphic designer from home, so I'm used to having the house to myself during his trips. We've always had a system. He texts me when he lands, calls me before bed, and keeps me generally updated on his schedule. In 10 years together, he's never just vanished. Until 3 weeks ago. It was a Wednesday morning. Daniel kissed me goodbye like usual, said he had a full day of client meetings in the city. We live about 40 minutes outside of downtown, and that he'd be home by dinner. Nothing seemed off. He was in a good mood, actually whistling while he got dressed, joking around with me over coffee. Just a normal morning. By 7 p.m., he wasn't home. I texted, "Hey, running late?" No response. By 8 p.m., I called. Straight to voicemail. I wasn't too worried yet. Maybe his phone died. Maybe the meetings ran long, and he was stuck in traffic. But by 10 p.m., when I still hadn't heard from him, I started to panic. I called again. Voicemail. I texted. No response. I called his work phone. Voicemail. I checked our location sharing on our phones. We'd always had it on, not because we were checking up on each other, but just as a safety thing. His location was turned off. That was weird. It had never been off before. By midnight, I was convinced something terrible had happened. Car accident? Medical emergency? I called local hospitals. Nothing. I called the police to see if I could file a missing person report, but they said an adult missing for less than 24 hours wasn't enough unless there were signs of foul play. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up calling Daniel's phone every hour, watching the door, imagining worst-case scenarios. I called his office first thing Thursday morning. His assistant said Daniel had called in sick for the rest of the week. Called in sick. So he was alive and capable of making phone calls, just not to me. I tried his parents. They hadn't heard from him. I tried his brother. Nothing. I tried his 2 closest friends. One of them, Brad, got weird on the phone. "I'm sure he's fine," Brad said quickly. "He probably just needs some space." Space? Brad, he's been missing for almost 24 hours. I thought he was dead. Look, it's not really my place to say anything, but maybe just give him some time to reach out. What does that mean? Do you know where he is? "I gotta go," Brad said and hung up. That conversation made it clear. Daniel wasn't missing. He was hiding. From me. Specifically from me. Thursday was a blur of panic and confusion and anger. What had I done? Had we had a fight I didn't remember? Was he having some kind of mental breakdown? Was this about the baby conversation? We'd only talked about it casually. There had been no pressure, no conflict. I went through our bank accounts. No unusual charges. I checked our credit cards. Nothing. Wherever he was paying cash or using a card I didn't know about. By Friday morning, I was furious. The fear had transformed into rage. My husband had deliberately ghosted me for 2 days, let me think he was dead, and had apparently told his friends something that made them complicit in whatever this was. Then, Friday afternoon, my phone rang. "Daniel." "Hey," he said, like nothing was wrong. "Sorry, my phone died, and I forgot my charger." I was so angry I could barely speak. "Your phone died for 2 days?" "Yeah, and I've been so slammed with work stuff, I didn't have time to grab a new charger until today." "Daniel, I called your office. They said you called in sick." Pause. "Oh, Right. I wasn't feeling well, so I took a few days to rest. But I had some work stuff I needed to handle anyway, so. Where are you? At a hotel. Near the office. I didn't want to get you sick. You've been at a hotel for 3 days because you didn't want to get me sick. Yeah, just being cautious. Every word out of his mouth was a lie. I could hear it in his voice, the slight hesitation, the too casual tone, the way the story didn't quite make sense. Come home, I said. Right now. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm feeling better. So. Daniel, if you're not home in the next 2 hours, I'm calling the police and reporting you missing. That's dramatic. 2 hours. I hung up. He came home. And when he walked through the door at 6 p.m. on Friday, I knew immediately that something was very, very wrong. He looked guilty. Couldn't meet my eyes. Kept touching his face, a tell he's had since I've known him, something he does when he's nervous or lying. Want to tell me what's really going on? I asked. What do you mean? You disappeared for 3 days, turned off your location, lied about being sick, and avoided all my calls. What's going on? I told you my phone died. Stop lying to me. I didn't mean to yell, but it came out as a shout. I know you're lying. Your phone didn't die for 3 days. You called in sick to work. You told Brad something that made him act weird when I called. Just tell me the truth. Daniel sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then, I needed some space. Space from what? From everything. From you, from the marriage, from the pressure about kids. I just needed to clear my head. So, you disappeared without a word? Let me think you were dead? That's how you handle needing space. I'm sorry. I know it was wrong. I just panicked. Something still didn't feel right. The explanation was too thin, too convenient. But I was so exhausted from 3 days of panic and fear that I didn't push it further that night. Daniel said he was tired, went upstairs, and passed out in bed. I stayed on the couch, Cooper curled up next to me, trying to make sense of everything. The next morning, Saturday, Daniel was acting weird, jumpy, checking his phone constantly and tilting it away from me when he did. When I suggested we talk more about what had happened, he said he had to run some errands. He was gone for 3 hours. That's when I did something I'm not proud of. I went through his stuff. I started with his car. I don't even know what I was looking for. Evidence of an affair, maybe? Signs that he was using drugs? Something to explain the bizarre behavior. In the center console, I found a receipt from a restaurant about 2 hours away. Date: Thursday night. The same Thursday, he claimed to be sick at a hotel. The receipt was for 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, and a dessert. He hadn't been sick. He'd been at a romantic dinner. My hands were shaking as I went back inside and checked his credit card statements online. There were charges I hadn't noticed before because I'd been looking at our joint accounts, but this was his personal credit card that he used for work expenses. Wednesday night, a hotel, not near his office, 2 hours north of the city, in a touristy beach town. Thursday, restaurants, a wine tasting, a boutique clothing store. Friday, more restaurants, what looked like a boat rental. He'd been on a romantic vacation. While I'd been losing my mind with worry, he'd been on a getaway. With who? I took photos of all the receipts and statements. Then I went back through his call logs online. There was a number that appeared frequently over the past 2 months. Dozens of calls, usually when I would have been working. I didn't recognize the number. I called it from my phone. A woman answered. Hello. I hung up immediately, my heart pounding. A woman. He'd been calling a woman. For months. When Daniel got home from his errands, I was sitting at the kitchen table with printouts of all the receipts and statements. Sit down, I said. The color drained from his face when he saw the papers. Where did you get those? You've been cheating on me. What? No, Don't lie. You were at a beach hotel Wednesday through Friday. You were having romantic dinners and wine tastings and spending money on someone who is not your wife. Who is she? Daniel sat down heavily. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, it's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She's a friend. From work. We grabbed dinner a few times, That's all. You don't take a 3-day vacation to a romantic beach town with a friend. You're having an affair. We haven't slept together. Oh, well, that makes it so much better. You've only been emotionally cheating and lying to me for months. We fought for hours. Daniel kept insisting it wasn't really an affair, that he and this woman, he wouldn't tell me her name, had just become close, that he'd felt confused about our relationship, that the trip was supposed to help him figure out what he wanted. And what do you want? I finally asked. I don't know. I love you, but I also have feelings for her. I'm confused. That's what broke me. Not that he'd cheated. Not that he'd lied. But that he was confused. After 10 years together, 8 years of marriage, he was confused about whether he wanted to be with me. Get out, I said. What? Get out of this house. I don't care where you go. Go back to your hotel. Go to her. Go to hell. But get out. Daniel tried to argue, but I was done. I told him if he wasn't out in 10 minutes, I'd start throwing his stuff on the lawn. He packed a bag and left. I spent the rest of the weekend crying and rage cleaning the house. I called my sister, who immediately offered to come stay with me. I called a divorce lawyer and made an appointment for Monday. I was done. We were done. But I still didn't know who she was. And I needed to know. Monday morning, I called that number again. The same woman answered. Hello. Hi. My name is Opie. I think you've been seeing my husband, Daniel. Silence on the other end. Then, you're what? My husband, Daniel. You've been talking to him for months, and last week you two went on a trip together. I don't understand. Her voice sounded genuinely confused. Daniel isn't married. He's a widower. The room spun. Excuse me? Daniel's wife died 3 years ago. Cancer. That's what he told me. His wife is alive. I'm his wife. We've been married for 8 years. I heard her breathing get faster. On the other end. No, that's not. He wouldn't. Oh my God. What's your name? I asked. Samantha. Oh my God. I think I'm going to be sick. Samantha, I need to meet with you. Can we meet somewhere? We agreed to meet at a coffee shop that afternoon. Neutral territory. Public place. I got there early, ordered a coffee I couldn't drink, and waited. When a woman walked in looking as shell-shocked as I felt, I knew it was her. Samantha was pretty, early 30s, blonde, athletic build, the kind of woman who looked like she did yoga and meal prepped on Sundays. She sat down across from me, her hand shaking. I didn't know, were the first words out of her mouth. I swear to God, I had no idea he was married. Tell me everything, I said. From the beginning. Samantha's story came out in a rush. She and Daniel had met 4 months ago at a pharmaceutical conference. She's a pharmacist at a hospital, and Daniel was there representing his company. They'd hit it off, exchanged numbers, started texting. He told her he was a widower, that his wife had died of breast cancer 3 years ago, that he was finally ready to start dating again. He was so sweet about it, Samantha said, tears streaming down her face. He'd talk about how much he missed her, how hard it was to lose her, how guilty he felt about moving on. I felt so bad for him. I thought I was helping him heal. They'd been dating for 3 months. Daniel had told Samantha that he traveled a lot for work, which explained why they could only see each other certain days. They'd text constantly during times when I would have been working, I realized. He'd call her from the car, probably during his commute. He'd carved out this entire secret relationship in the gaps of his real life. The trip last week was the first time we'd spent more than an evening together, Samantha continued. He said he wanted to take me somewhere special. He told me he was falling in love with me. He said he could see a future with me. I felt sick, not just because my husband had been cheating, but because of how elaborate the lie was. He'd kill me off, created a whole tragic backstory, played the grieving widower to gain sympathy and trust. Did you sleep with him? I asked. Samantha nodded, crying harder. On the trip. It was our first time. He said he hadn't been with anyone since his wife died, that it felt like he was betraying her memory, but that he knew she'd want him to be happy. I felt so honored that he'd chosen me, that he trusted me enough to. She broke off, sobbing. Oh God, I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're a victim. He lied to both of us. We sat there for a while, two women who'd been deceived by the same man, processing our respective betrayals. Then Samantha asked, "What are you going to do?" "Divorce him. Obviously. What about you?" "I never want to see him again." She paused. "But I want to confront him. I want to look him in the face and ask him how he could do this." An idea formed. What if we confronted him together? Samantha's eyes widened. Both of us. He's been playing us both. He deserves to face us both. A slow smile spread across Samantha's tear-stained face. "When?" "Tonight. I know where he's staying, his friend Brad's place." "Are you in?" "I'm in." We spent the next few hours planning. We'd show up at Brad's apartment together, unannounced. Daniel would have no time to prepare, no time to craft a lie. He'd just have to face what he'd done. At 7 p.m., Samantha and I pulled up to Brad's apartment complex in separate cars. We met in the parking lot, gave each other a look that said, "Ready?" and headed inside. I knocked on Brad's door. I could hear the TV playing inside, voices. Brad opened the door, and his face went white when he saw me. "Op. Is Daniel here?" Now's not really a good time." "Brad, let me in." I pushed past him. Samantha followed. Daniel was on the couch, beer in hand, watching a basketball game. When he saw me, he stood up quickly. "What are you doing here?" "I brought someone to meet you," I said, stepping aside so he could see Samantha. The look on Daniel's face was something I'll remember forever. Pure, abject horror. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. The beer bottle slipped from his hand and hit the carpet, foam spilling everywhere. "Hey, Daniel," Samantha said coldly. "Surprise. Your dead wife came back to life." "Sam, I can explain." "Explain what?" Samantha's voice was shaking with fury. "Explain how you lied about your wife being dead? Explain how you've been living a double life? Explain how you told me you loved me while you were married to her? It's complicated." "No, it's actually very simple." I cut in. "You're a liar and a cheater. You told me you needed space to figure things out, when really you wanted space to spend a romantic weekend with your girlfriend. And you told your girlfriend that I was dead, so she wouldn't ask questions." Daniel sank back onto the couch. Brad had disappeared into his bedroom, clearly not wanting any part of this confrontation. "I never meant for this to happen," Daniel said weakly. "Which part?" Samantha demanded. "Meeting me? Lying to me? Sleeping with me? Which part didn't you mean to happen?" "I didn't plan it." "Sam, you have to understand, when I met you, I was in a weird place in my marriage." "Don't you dare make this about your marriage," I said. "Don't you dare blame me for your choice to cheat." "I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying we've been talking about kids and I was freaking out, and then I met Sam and she was fun and easy and there was no pressure." "So, I'm not fun?" I asked. "I'm not easy?" "Because I expected basic honesty and loyalty from my husband." Samantha shook her head in disgust. "You told me your wife died of cancer. You cried on the phone to me about watching her go through chemo. You showed me a picture of a woman you said was her." "Wait, what?" I interrupted. "He showed you a picture?" "Yeah. He has this whole story, how he kept one photo of you, her, whoever, in his wallet. But he couldn't look at it too often because it was too painful. Let me see." She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her photos. "Here. He sent me this picture once. Said it was the last photo taken before she got sick." She showed me the photo. It was me. A picture from our vacation in Mexico 4 years ago. I was on the beach, smiling, wearing a red sundress. It was one of my favorite photos of myself. He'd used a picture of me to prove to his girlfriend that I was dead. The room tilted. I had to sit down. "You used our vacation photos?" I whispered. "You turned our memories into props for your lie?" Daniel had his head in his hands. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt either of you." "But you did," Samantha said. "You hurt both of us. You lied to both of us. You played both of us for fools." "What do you want me to say?" Daniel looked up, and for the first time, I saw anger in his face. "I made a mistake, okay? I got in over my head. but you're acting like I'm some monster. You are a monster, I shouted. A normal person who makes a mistake comes clean. They don't disappear for 3 days. They don't kill off their wife. They don't continue lying even when confronted. You're only sorry because you got caught, Sam. He turned to Samantha with what I'm sure he thought were pleading, sincere eyes. What we have is real. I do love you. Yes, I lied about being a widower, but my feelings for you are genuine. We can still make this work. Are you insane? Samantha's voice was ice. You're married. You lied to me about literally everything. Why would I want to make this work with you? Because what we have is special. It's different from what I have with Opie. With you, I can be myself. The self that lies and cheats. I asked, that's who you want to be? You don't understand. Daniel's getting desperate now. Opie, we've been together so long that we're more like roommates than spouses. There's no passion anymore. But with Sam, everything is exciting and new. It's exciting because it's a fantasy. I was standing now, pacing. You built a whole fake life with her. Of course it was exciting. It wasn't real. There were no bills to pay, no chores to split, no mundane everyday life because you only saw her for dates and romantic getaways. And you built that fake life by killing me off. I continued. Do you understand how psychotic that is? You didn't just cheat. You erased me. You turned me into a dead woman so you could play the tragic widower. What kind of person does that? Daniel didn't have an answer. He just sat there, looking between Samantha and me, probably realizing that he'd lost both of us. Samantha stood up. I'm done here. Daniel, lose my number. If you try to contact me, I'll file a restraining order. She looked at me. Opie, I'm so sorry you're going through this. If you need anything for the divorce, testimony, evidence, whatever, I'm happy to help. Thank you, I said. And Samantha, you deserve so much better than this. So do you. Samantha left. It was just me and Daniel now. And Brad, presumably still hiding in his bedroom. I want a divorce, I said quietly. And I want you to make it easy. Don't fight me on the house, the assets, any of it. You owe me that much. We can work through this. No, we can't. You killed me, Daniel. In your mind, in your story, I was already dead. So let's make it official. Our marriage is dead. Opie, please. I have a meeting with a divorce lawyer tomorrow. You'll be served with papers by the end of the week. I suggest you find yourself a lawyer too. I walked out of Brad's apartment and sat in my car for a few minutes, shaking with adrenaline. I'd done it. I'd confronted him with Samantha. And it had felt good. Not happy good, but powerful good. Like I'd taken back some control. My phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. That was intense. You okay? Me. I will be. Thank you for doing that with me. Samantha. Thank you for telling me the truth. I can't believe I fell for his lies. Me. He's a good liar. We both got fooled. But not anymore. Samantha. Not anymore. Stay strong. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, things have moved quickly. I filed for divorce. Daniel tried to contest it at first, sent me long texts about how we could go to counseling, how he'd made a mistake, but our marriage was worth fighting for. I blocked his number. He then tried using mutual friends as intermediaries. Brad called to say Daniel was really struggling and having a hard time. I told Brad that Daniel was an adult who made adult choices and would face adult consequences. I also told Brad that if he'd known about the affair and hadn't told me, our friendship was over too. Brad admitted he'd suspected something, but didn't think it was his place to say anything. I haven't spoken to him since. Daniel's parents reached out. They're horrified by what he did and apologized profusely. His mom actually cried on the phone, saying she didn't raise him to be this kind of man. I appreciated their support, but I also told them I couldn't maintain a relationship with them through the divorce. It was too complicated. The house is being sold. We couldn't agree on who would keep it, and honestly, I don't want it anymore. Too many memories, too many lies embedded in the walls. I'm moving into an apartment next month. Smaller place, fresh start. I've been in therapy, which has helped. My therapist has helped me process the betrayal, the elaborate lies, the violation of trust. We've talked about how the widower lie was particularly cruel because it didn't just cheat, it erased me. It made me a ghost in my own life. Samantha and I have stayed in touch. Not close friends or anything, but we check in on each other occasionally. She's in therapy too. She told me she's taking a break from dating, that she needs to work on trusting her own judgment again. I completely understand. Daniel has apparently been telling people his version of events, that he made a mistake, that I refuse to forgive him, that he lost everything over one error in judgment. The mutual friends who've heard his story and still reached out to me have gotten a very detailed correction of the record. One error in judgment doesn't cover months of lying, an elaborate fake identity, and a 3-day romantic vacation. The craziest part of all of this is that I keep thinking about small moments from the past few months that make sense now. Like how Daniel suddenly started going to the gym more and buying nicer clothes. I thought he was just trying to be healthier. Nope, he was trying to look good for Samantha. How he'd sometimes call me from the car and say, "I love you," out of nowhere, which I thought was sweet. Now I realize he was probably feeling guilty or overcompensating. How he'd sometimes come home from work in an unusually good mood, bringing me flowers or suggesting we order my favorite takeout. Probably after he'd spent time with Samantha. How he'd started using a different cologne. I asked about it once, and he said his old one had been discontinued. Now I wonder if Samantha had complimented the new one. Every happy moment from the past 4 months is tainted now. Every kind gesture feels like a manipulation or guilt offering. Every "I love you" feels like a lie. The divorce should be finalized in about 4 months, depending on how things go. Daniel has agreed to most of my terms, probably because he knows if this went to court, the evidence would make him look terrible. Good. People keep asking me if I regret how I handled the confrontation, showing up with Samantha, ambushing him at Brad's place. They say it was dramatic or excessive. But honestly, I don't regret it at all. Daniel spent months lying to both of us. He deserved to face both of us. He deserved to see the consequences of his actions in real time, with no opportunity to craft a narrative or control the situation. Plus, the look on his face when Samantha said, "Your dead wife came back to life," was absolutely worth it. I'm not going to pretend I'm completely fine. I'm not. I'm sad and angry and grieving the marriage I thought I had. I'm mourning the future I'd imagined, the kids we'd talked about having, the anniversary trips we'd planned, growing old together. All of that is gone now. But I'm also relieved. I'm relieved I found out when I did, before we had kids, before I'd invested even more years in a man who could lie so effortlessly. I'm relieved Samantha found out too, before she got in even deeper with him. I'm relieved that I stood up for myself and didn't let him manipulate me into staying.